Okay, let's go into this Twitter space, go back in here, see what's going on. I got to take a quick piss too, ninjas. So.
To take notice of it around COVID time. And it was removed from the web. But, of course, people archived it. You can find copies. But anyways, heavy depopulation. The United States, Deagle forecast, the United States right now has like just slightly over 300 million people. I believe that the Deagle forecast for 2025 was that the population of the United States was going to be reduced to 100 million, which is a mind blower. But all over the world, and there were only a couple countries that didn't have any change at all. Yeah, you guys may want to look that up for some entertaining reading.
Hey, what's up, guys? I was coming in and out, and I saw that you guys were speaking and stuff like that, so I didn't want to just interrupt, man. I've been on stream now for, what, 2 hours or so. What's the latest, man, with what's going on?
The big news is what the guys are actually discussing right now is...
Actually, hold on real quick. Let me tell you guys what I last heard. That way you can kind of fill in the gaps. This morning when I was on with you guys, I heard, obviously, they tried to assassinate the foreign minister in, I think it was Switzerland, Geneva, and then obviously Israel was getting pretty hard. Haifa got hit really hard. I was on this morning with when Jackson Hinkle was in here. So since then, I pretty much haven't been keeping up as much. What's been the latest in that situation?
There hasn't been much. There was another barrage of attacks, another attack by Iran. It was about 5 missiles. There was a few hits. But the biggest news is what I was about to mention was the one in the nest, which is that B-2 stealth bombers have taken off from the Whiteman Air Force Base with support from 8 refueling tanks. So what that means is B-2 bombers, American ones, have left the base. So there's concerns that US may be lying about the 2 weeks, and they may be joining in the next day or two, and hence why the B-2 bombers are moving.
Yeah, I actually posted about this earlier last night that they had they're at Diego Garcia, right? If I'm not mistaken. Yeah, because I got a tweet here. United States Air Force now deploying 6 B-2A Spirit stealth bombers to Diego Garcia. They were scheduled to arrive earlier, but Trump issued an ultimatum to Iran's regime temporarily halting the deployment with no surrender from Tehran. The bombers are going to be there soon with the first 2 KC-46As, refueling them at Hawaii right now. This came out June 19th, so yesterday. So, yeah, I mean, obviously Diego Garcia is a huge military base that is a huge staging location for the Middle East. So, yeah.
These ones are different. These ones have taken off from the Whiteman Air Force Base.
Okay. All right. Fair. Interesting. Damn.
So this seems to indicate that there is a high possibility that either the U.S. is going to enter the war or he's using it as a negotiation tactics. The conversation people are having in here is there's like a quite expensive way of you having a negotiation tactics against Iran.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that is concerning because obviously the B-2 bombers are going to be used for the Fordo nuclear plant.
Yeah. Also, another big thing that we were breaking, I remember earlier, we talked about Mahmoud Khalil, and then we also were discussing the earthquakes. Apparently, there's been like 4 or 5 earthquakes in Iran within a week, right?
Yeah, more than that. There was 6 on that day. Since then, there's been 3 other days where there's been earthquakes. Today being the last one where there was one at the 5.2 in the Richter scale.
Now, that's really important, and I wish Ivy was in here. I don't know if he got to talk. He was asleep this morning.
He was here about an hour ago. We had a good conversation about it.
Okay. Because I know he's like involved in like physics and science and all other stuff. Would it be fair to say, because I remember when he was giving his criticism, he was saying, look, I don't even know if Iran can have a nuclear bomb because they have to test it. And obviously we've had these earthquakes that have all happened within quick succession of each other. I know we were speculating, me, you, and Truth Teller earlier this morning, that there's a chance that they're doing nuclear testing because the area from which the earthquakes are coming, if I'm not mistaken, is from the southwestern border of the country near Pakistan, which Pakistan has tested nuclear weapons in that area as well. So that's been leading people to believe that that might be where Iran is also doing nuclear testing, since that area has already been contaminated by nuclear air and all that other crap. Have we confirmed or?
To be fair, Myron.
Yeah.
Myron, to be fair, Iran is a place where a lot of earthquakes happen.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask next.
The area over there is a place where a lot of earthquakes usually happen.
Okay, so what are we thinking? I mean, obviously, no one can confirm anything. The only thing we can do is speculate. But I guess, what do you think the chances are that they're actually doing some preemptive nuclear testing at this point?
I mean, the chances are there. I think that they're not anywhere close to nuclear bomb. I think this is like just fake news. But if they aren't, it works the other way around. Then they've completely missed the boat because they knew this day was coming. They should have basically got to that situation. Truth obviously does believe that they are either there or close to being there. So I'm more with Ivy on this one. I know I was kind of questioning a bit tough in terms of trying to break down what was going on. But yeah, I actually think the earthquakes are natural and they haven't got the nuclear capability.
Okay.
Let me be a weirdo for a second for Myron. Is there a possibility? Can we at least entertain the possibility that there's weaponry? Because we have the the Trump administration official that said approximately maybe like 3 weeks ago on the record that talking about weapons that we can't even imagine, and he was like bragging about tech that has been unseen. So, and we know for a fact that directed energy weapons exist. They're not like anything kooky. We have admissions now by the government. So, what if something like that is being kind of tested, kind of flexed on the region, and that perhaps maybe they can trigger seismic activity using them? And for any of you that think that that's nuts, I challenge you to go find the sound clip of President Clinton's Secretary of Defense, Cohen, when he said it on the record. So you need to go find that before you start talking shit. I'll leave it there.
All right. Is Truth Teller there or no?
I think he's away right now. He might be asleep.
Yeah, I think he's asleep.
All right, fair enough. Yeah, lots of stuff going on, man. Obviously, there's been quite a bit of. I know earlier that Haifa got hit pretty hard earlier today. Like a wedding got canceled and some other stuff too from this morning.
Yeah, Haifa got hit. Yeah, there was a wedding that had issues. There were some people hiding in tunnels. Unless you mean Netanyahu's son's wedding that got cancelled, and he said everyone in Israel's going through great pain, and his son's wedding had to be cancelled in Miami. But yeah, other than that, there's no huge news. You were here for the major big attack. There was one other attack in between since you've been, and then we've got this news about the B-12 bombers. I would say those are the biggest points of news, and obviously the other one is the hit piece on Adam, Jackson, Nick, that Nordis guy, and a few others, and they're the big news for today, I would say.
All right, fair enough. All right, I'll chill in the space and I'll come back and out periodically.
Cool.
All right. Okay, guys, let's go ahead and get into this. This came out earlier this morning with Kyle Kalinske. Some crazy shit. I'll play some of it. I'm going to go grab some stuff real quick. I'll be back.
Guys, I got some big breaking news here for you, multiple pieces of big breaking news. So the legendary journalist Seymour Hersh is out with a big report on what's going on with Iran right now. And according to him, he says it's not just the case that the U.S. is going to directly enter the war and start bombing Iran and going after their nuclear facility. According to him, the decision has already been made to do full regime change. So that's a big deal. I mean, as of this moment, Trump is still playing hide the ball and pretending nobody knows what I do. Maybe I'll attack, maybe I won't. Nobody knows what I do. But the thing is, we already know the U.S. is directly involved. Obviously, we're arming Israel. We're funding Israel. We provided them support on the ground. We greenlit the initial attacks, the initial multiple waves of attacks. So we're already directly involved in the war. And the media is talking about it from the perspective now of, will the U.S. get directly involved, illegally, by the way, because that's what it would be, because there's no approval from Congress. Will the U.S. get directly involved and bomb their main nuclear facility, which I believe is called Fordo? And what Seymour Hersh is saying is, not only have they already decided we're definitely doing that, they're also going to go after the supreme leader, but then they're also going to go after as many other military and political officials as they can, and even go as far as to go after like the police stations in Tehran and things of that nature.
And guys, this kind of matches up because we know that they tried to literally kill one of the negotiators earlier today.
So a total onslaught has already been greenlit, and he reports that the reason that they're waiting is because Trump wants to do it during the weekend so that the impact on the markets is not as bad when Monday rolls around. So if he were to launch the attack, in his mind, hey, if I launch the attack during the week, the market is going to absolutely plummet, and we want to avoid that, so let's wait till the weekend and I'll pretend like I don't even know if I'm attacking yet. So that's a huge deal, huge report, and this guy has a track record of being right on a lot of stuff. So that's super important, but there's actually even a bigger and scarier report out there. So this is from The Guardian, and The Guardian says, all the talk right now is about when the US goes after Iran's main nuclear facility, that they're going to be using these 5,000-pound bunker buster bombs. And I've seen that pretty much taken at face value, where like every media outlet is talking about it from that perspective. But according to the report from The Guardian, it is literally actually on the table to use a tactical nuclear weapon against this Iranian facility. Now, I know just hearing that, you're like, what? What are we live in a fucking nightmare? Well, the answer is yes, we live in a nightmare. So this is actually on the table. Now, the White House, in an attempt to sort of downplay this report, they come out and say, no, we're not really considering that. But then the last thing they say is, but all options are on the table. So then the Guardian reporter fired back and said, after my report that they're considering using a tactical nuke, they are validating that they are considering using a tactical nuke. If all options are on the table, that means the tactical nuclear option is on the table. And by the way, there's an actual reason why this might even be not just possible, but maybe even potentially likely that they would use this, is because we've seen the impact of the 2,000-pound bunker busters. So Israel has a bunch of those that we gave them, and as you all know, they've used them in Gaza. Now, you could see the impact when one of these things lands, right? And yeah, it's, 2,000-pound bunker buster it's a big deal. It's a very powerful weapon. But at the same time, the amount of damage that it does, certainly that's not enough to get the Iranian nuclear facility, which is literally like in a mountain at the base of the mountain, right? And so we saw the damage the 2,000-pound ones do. That's nowhere near the damage you would need to take out this nuclear facility. But they say it's okay, it's going to be 5,000-pound bunker busters. But even the impact of the 5,000-pound bunker busters, a lot of experts think that is not enough to get this nuclear facility, right? And so
it is wild that I have to show like left-wing commentators that kind of see what the fuck is going on here and why this is not good. This guy Kolinsky, for those of you that are wondering, aka Succular Talk, a very big left-wing YouTuber, but he's been pretty good when it came to when it comes to Iran, and this war has been pretty good. I agree with him when it comes to that. Everything else we disagree on, but when it comes to the foreign policy of how we're dealing with Iran, he's been pretty on point.
Then the question becomes, all right, are you guys talking about let's launch like 10 5,000-pound bunker busters and think that might work and get all the way to the base of this mountain where there's a nuclear facility buried inside? Or is this just a fucking smokescreen, and the real thing that you want to do is maybe use a couple bunker busters, but also a fucking tactical nuclear weapon? I mean, honestly, this is like, the fact that we're even having this conversation is immensely disturbing. And it shows you that we've lost our fucking minds. Now, by the way, another part of the reporting, I believe this was Seymour Hersh.
Also, it proves that we're an occupied country. We're going to use tactical nukes for Israel? Bro.
Hersh is reporting. He says, so the U.S. is all on board. Israel is obviously, over the moon at the fact that we're green-lighting regime change. But there actually is a disagreement at the bottom of this. because even though the U.S. has basically agreed to everything, the disagreement comes with, well, what happens after? Like, what happens after we do the regime change? Well, according to the reporting, J.D. Vance, and he's one of the voices in the room who's saying this, and I think Trump may have tepidly agreed to what J.D. Vance is saying here, but his argument is like, all right, well, obviously what we do is we overthrow the supreme leader, and then we put in power some, like, moderately religious force, right? In other words, you don't go from a full Shia Islamic theocracy and like go full secularization, right? Because that would be like a culture shock. That would lead to further backlash on top of the backlash of some outside power overthrowing your government. So JD Vance says,
and not only that, like no one wants the Shah back, bro. Like he's wildly unpopular in Iran. They look at him as a traitor. Dude kissed the wall with the yarmulke on, bro. Cooked, man.
Falcon punch.
Yeah, like a moderate Shia leader, right? And apparently the Israelis are apoplectic about that. And they say, no, we want no Muslim leader at all. No Muslim leader. And effectively what the Israelis want is a total Western puppet, but more specifically, an Israeli puppet. So obviously the name that comes to mind when you talk about that is the son of the Shah, the former dictator of Iran, Reza Pahlavi. But this guy, I mean, to say he has no credibility is an understatement. This guy was out there on TV literally like cheering the fact that his own country and his own people were getting bombed, right? This is a guy who's lived in Washington, D.C. for a really long time.
They will never accept him. They will never fucking accept him.
And so he has no authority. He actually reminds me of this character, Ahmed Chalabi, who was like the hand-picked U.S. choice to be president of Iraq after we toppled Saddam Hussein, right? And the guy had no popular support. So obviously he was a colossal fraud, and that project imploded immediately. And I think a similar thing would happen with Reza. But according to the reporting, they're actually not even really considering Reza. But, you know, they want, the Israelis want somebody who's just a total puppet to Israel and not Muslim at all. So let's be serious here, guys. The conversations that we're having here are absolute lunatic conversations. Like, literally, none of this stuff should be on the, literally none of this stuff should be on the table. This is all so fucking crazy. And like I said, it's like that movie Groundhog Day. We're literally all the way back in 2002, and we're hearing all the arguments from the Bush administration officials about why we have to overthrow Iraq, and they have weapons of mass destruction, and they helped do 9/11, and they're going to attack us with the weapons of mass destruction. All of that was total horse shit, and we're getting such similar arguments now with this. Iran doesn't have.
Yeah, they're completely identical arguments, and I would argue that we had a stronger argument for Iraq invasion because at least we were hit directly. Bro, we haven't been hit directly. Israel got hit directly, and it's because of their stupid ass fucking foreign policy.
Have a nuclear weapon. They weren't building a nuclear weapon. Even if they were building a nuclear weapon, they weren't going to fucking use it. It would only serve as a deterrent to Israeli and Western aggression. Like, every level of this conversation is bullshit.
Yes, he's right about that. They were enriching uranium to a higher level, basically, literally, to prevent and to disincentivize being stabbed in the back, honestly, because they had been stabbed in the back a bunch of times.
Even when you grant them that what their concern is Iran's nukes, that's not even true. The point is, Iran challenges Israeli hegemony in the region. They want to stop that.
Yep.
So it's simply about regime change. It's simply about Israel and the U.S.
It's about regime change, and they need a justification to do the regime change, and nuclear weapons is that justification. Guys, do not forget this. I've told you guys this a million times, but sometimes I got to remind you guys. Look, this entire conflict with Israel is about regime change. They want the Ayatollah out, okay? They want them out. That's why the nuclear deal, all this other shit, they didn't care about it. They don't care if Iran actually has nuclear weapons, because if they did, they would have negotiated back with Trump back then and finished off the nuclear deal, and everybody would be happy. The sanctions would be lifted, everybody would be able to do business, everybody would get money. But that's not what Israel's interested in. They want regime change, and they know to actually impose the regime change, they need a damn good reason. And let me tell you guys something, bro. There ain't nothing better than saying they got fucking nuclear weapons, baby. There is no better excuse to justify regime change than saying they got nuclear weapons, and we're all in danger. So yeah, that's the intention here. The nuclear weapons are just a tool to push The regime change.